Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode with the Road to Glory podcast. I'm Juliet.
And I'm Cecilia. And today we are obviously here to talk about the F1 Academy final weekend in Las Vegas. And oh my god, we have a lot to talk about, so strap in.
Yeah, we're gonna dive straight into it because a lot happened this weekend. Championships were decided. So yeah, jumping straight into it. Actually, side note, we are wearing black because we are mourning the
Yes.
end of the F1 Academy season. It has been an insane season, really, really close until literally the last race, which has been
Yeah.
incredible. But at the start of the weekend, we got some announcements for next year, which is so, so exciting. We got Esme Kosman being announced that she's going to be racing for Lego Racing. We don't know which feeder series team is operating the car, whether it's Roden or MP or whatever. But Esme was our wildcard driver in Zandvoort, so it's really, really nice to see her on the grid for next year. And I will let you do some of the rest of the announcements.
Yes. Also, my only note on what you just said about Esme is that we have serious beef with F1 Academy not announcing what teams these drivers are actually driving for.
Yeah.
Because, just to begin with, obviously we already touched upon in previous episodes how the ratio of the teams who actually operates the car is so big in F1 Academy, and now you don't even mention it. What is even going on with that? Because surely they will have a contract with some team already. They could potentially announce.
Exactly. Okay, yes, they have a sponsor, but right now they don't technically have a car because the car is not operated by the sponsor. The
Yeah,
sponsor is
it's
just
not gonna be a
delivering.
Lego car. It's not gonna be a Lego car. Come on, guys. She's not gonna be driving around in Lego. So give us a feeder series team she'll be racing for.
Exactly. And for the rest of the announcements that we got, which was 3 more afterwards, they weren't announced who they were going to be racing for. For some of them, you can kind of guess who, because I mean, you can explain further, but it's just so annoying.
It really is. And also, as a Danish person, I have to say I am patriotic for Lego being an actual team. Kind of not a team, but operating it. Not even operating a car. I can't even talk anymore. But sponsoring a car is super cool to see. But yeah, obviously the other announcements you mentioned where you can definitely probably be pretty certain where they'll end up. That is that obviously Alicia Palmowski was announced to be continuing as Red Bull racing driver, and that Rafaela Ferrara continues with Racing Bulls. So he's staying in the family with the Racing Bulls Red Bull setup.
Yeah, I think we can kind of assume now that Red Bull Ford will not be coming back
Yeah.
because it just doesn't seem like it with the two McLaren sponsors. And so yeah, because these are two Red Bull teams, we're assuming that they're going to be staying with Campos because Red Bull and Campos are linked at the hip. If you're a Red Bull driver, you most likely will be driving for Campos. So we can assume that. But then who's going to be the third person who's driving for Campos? Because they're not going to be a Red Bull driver. But maybe it's a sponsor that's similar to Red Bull, that's aligned with them.
Oh, we'll definitely have to wait and see on that. That's the same with Rodin and McLaren. They have that one seat left. It's definitely gonna be interesting what Red Bull and Racing Bulls, who their third teammate is gonna be. But then, obviously, the final announcement we had was a slight surprise for me because I had made a prediction that's unfortunately wasn't true. But still happy to see this person get a seat, which is obviously Lisa Billard, also previous wildcard driver, gonna be driving for Gatorade.
Yeah, it's really nice to see Gatorade get a full-time spot because I
Yeah.
think they sponsored the wild card 2 or 3 times. I know they sponsored in Canada and I think it was in Singapore. So they were there, but it's nice that they've joined the grid full time. And we will see the Gatorade livery. Maybe it'll be changed for next year. But yeah, very nice to see Lisa on the grid. She had an incredible performance when she was wildcard. So yeah, who knows what team she'll be joining yet again, but we will have to wait and see.
Yes, because again, that was an odd one because in the F1 Academy announcement, it wasn't mentioned any teams at all. But obviously, Lisa is an Iron Dames driver. And they mentioned on their official post that she'll be driving for ART, which also
Right.
makes a lot of sense. French driver, French team. But like, so I would assume that's the case. But still, it's not like officially announced by F1 Academy for some reason.
Exactly, which it doesn't make sense why that like a third party is the
No.
person to like leak the news, whereas F1 Academy hasn't. I mean, I love F1 Academy, but they're really bad at giving us news. And like we literally don't know the calendar for next year. It was leaked. So there's like rumors, but then that post was deleted. So like we don't even know where they're technically going next year. Like, can you please give us more information? Because we're going off of
Yes.
breadcrumbs here. We're having to find and search in the feeder series world for any information.
Literally, like we need to know more. Also, like with more of the seats are still available that hasn't like officially been announced. Obviously, there's some drivers like Alba Larsen that has been obviously it has been announced that she will be joining the Ferrari driver development program. But then again, not with what specific team it's gonna be. But she has herself also said like I'm ready to go back next year. So obviously she will be in F1 Academy. So I assume that will be in the Ferrari red car, which I'm so
Yeah.
excited about. Not gonna lie.
Yeah, it'll be very exciting to see when we get these announcements because obviously, assuming the first race is China again, we have quite a bit of an off season. So it'll be interesting to see if they announce stuff now, like while there's still hype of the championship being over, and then we get nothing, and then maybe in the build up towards next year we'll get some more stuff, maybe in like Feb, March. But yes, I think that's covered all of the announcements that were like pre whenever and when the racing had started before it.
Yeah.
But jumping into our first competitive session of the weekend was practice, which not too much happened. We did see Doriane pretty much dominating that session, but Chloe Chambers, Maya was up there, like your usual people. The only most notable thing was Chloe Chambers had a suspension issue when there was 10 minutes left, and she just went straight into the barriers because her car broke pretty much when she was approaching turn one. So that brought out a red flag, which then if it's practice, the red flag doesn't stop the clock. So the clock was still ticking down. And then when the red flag was over, there was about 1 minute left. So they couldn't go out. So that was pretty much the notable things from practice. I don't know if you saw anything else, but that's all that I really noticed.
Yeah, because obviously I know as European fans, we do whine a bit too much about the timings. Because obviously these are normal times for some dedicated fans out there. So I'm
Yeah.
sorry if we are making it sound like it's the worst. We really like appreciate the people who actually get up in the middle of the night, like every weekend to watch motorsport. Really like applaud you. But I didn't wake up for practice, so I also only pretty much heard like those highlights of what happened. I was
Yeah.
like super lucky for Chloe Chambers that it was in practice that
Yes.
car failure happened and not in one of the competitive sessions because obviously she had a good weekend and that would have been such heartbreak if she ended off her F1 Academy career that way, but luckily it didn't. And I was like, before we go into competitive sessions, which are obviously going to be qualifying first, I feel like now that everyone who are watching this episode, surely everyone knows who won the championship. So I don't know if we should like just touch on that to like
Yeah, well,
begin with.
I feel like it's probably going to be in our thumbnail. So,
Yeah, so there's no reason to keep up the suspense here.
and you
We all
should.
know.
Look at
We
you.
all know. Yeah. But my Mercedes top, obviously, and I will take credit for both of us being right about who was gonna win the championship because obviously your season prediction was that Doriane Pin was gonna win the championship this year. And my like on the last time I had a option to like say, is it Maya or is it Doriane? I
Yeah.
did pick correctly, okay? So I will take that. Where you backed Maya, I backed Doriane. So
Yeah.
I'll take what I can get. Because obviously Doriane did end up being champion of F1
Yeah.
Academy in 2025.
Yeah, very exciting. I know it was my prediction way back in the beginning of the season. And going into the season, it looked like it was going to be dominated by Dorian, which it was
Yeah.
not, as we all know. So I'm still very happy that I got that right. It was a bit more of an obvious prediction that I made, but we will 100% be doing predictions again for next year because
Yeah.
next year seems like it's going to be really, really close.
Yes, it's gonna be crazy. And obviously, yeah, as you mentioned, Dorian was kind of the title contender favorite
Yeah.
going into the season. Definitely did end up getting more spicy than we were expecting, and I'm sure we'll talk about what obviously led to her winning the championship through this weekend. Because obviously, going into the weekend, there were only 9 points separating Dorian and Maya Weug. So guess we can get into what happened in qualifying, because that obviously had like a big part to play already.
Absolutely. And now Las Vegas is our first year here, and they don't get practice on the strip before. So qualifying, they've just had one practice session going into it. And in Vegas, the toe is so important,
Yeah.
especially in F1 Academy, because we don't have DRS here. So the toe on that massive long straight is really what helps you get close to your opponents before and during qualifying. It really what helps you set an incredible lap. And we got the most monster of a lap from Chloe
Yes.
Chambers, like halfway through, where she had like 3 cars in front of her, and I don't know, it just worked perfectly for her, and she got such a good toe.
Yes, honestly, what I would name the qualifying session, I don't know. I think it was my sleep deprived brain, but like every session, I was like naming as if it was an episode I was watching. The episode name of qualifying was definitely the Slipstream Wars or like the Slipstream Games, because everyone were trying to get a slipstream and it was so critical and definitely didn't play out the way everyone wanted, but like Chloe Chambers was definitely the one that somehow magically always timed it right that she got that crucial slipstream.
Yeah, we even saw teammates giving each other slipstreams and then swapping so that they could give it back to the other one. So teams were very, very aware that they needed this slipstream to set an insane lap. I will say MP did something different to the rest of the grid, and they did pit. I don't know if it was all their drivers, but they definitely pit Maya and Alba about halfway through, but they didn't change the tires. So it was a little confusing why they wanted to pit. And then they came out again on the circuit with 10 minutes remaining. But it kind of felt like Maya came out in the back foot because she hadn't had as many laps as everyone else. And she did get a tow from Alba, but it just didn't seem like qualifying really worked for her.
No, it was definitely not the qualifying session I think she was envisioning for herself. Obviously, coming from such a strong in season test a couple of weeks earlier. And yeah, just kind of struggling in qualifying for whatever reason. We definitely saw, as you mentioned, that slipstream game between like Alba trying to give Maya a tow and a slipstream didn't really seem to work that well the first time they tried it. They definitely got it more right later in the session when they came out again, but it seemed kind of clumsy at the time. So maybe obviously not having practiced it enough or like what the expectation were for like when do we just like does Alba completely just lose that lap or does she continue it herself? It was kind of messy to say the least. And
Yeah,
also as you mentioned, like pitting without changing tires. I don't know if they made like a tweak to the car setup. Like they
right.
obviously could do that quickly. I also heard the commentators mention that they had Maya's tires off the car to like check them and put them on again. So maybe she was feeling just that something was off with the car.
Yeah.
That could very well be, seeing that she didn't really have the performance we were all expecting. But it obviously remains unsure, but definitely not the easy qualifying she was hoping for.
Absolutely. It did seem to go a lot better for the Campos drivers, especially
Yeah.
for Chloe and Alicia. Like they were giving each other toes, and it just landed up working amazing. Alicia was fastest at one point, which was incredible to see because obviously she's coming in being announced for next year, so she like has nothing to lose, and she's not in the championship fight. She's fighting for her position, where she'll land up. But that was really exciting. But what we got was, I felt like a bit of redemption. We got a Chloe Chambers pole, which was incredible. Obviously, home race for her, and she just needed to end this season on a bit of a high because she has had a rocky last couple races. And we got Alicia P2, so it was really nice for Campos. And an Alba Larsen P3, which I will let you
Yes.
speak on that.
Honestly, I was so excited to see Alba finally performing well again. Like, finally sounds harsh because, like, obviously she has been there for
Yeah,
most of the season, but like being back up in the top three, it has been a while. It was literally in China in the first race of the season, and for whatever reason, whenever they come to a track that none of the drivers has been at, like China or now as like Las Vegas, for whatever reason, it seems like she's just quicker to like get her head wrapped around the track and the circuit compared to some of the other drivers, and that she takes that as an advantage.
yeah.
Definitely, I'll take that. It was a great performance by her. Obviously, I was hoping for a first podium, but we'll get to that in the races. And also, like, she was so annoyingly close to being P2, beating Alicia. Like, I didn't even realize it at the time, but it was literally like 0.017 behind Alicia and like her best qualifying position, which is like
That's crazy.
literally nothing. Literally nothing. And also, like, as you mentioned, Chloe and Alicia being P1 and P2, I will also say something about that because the thing I thought about when I saw that was like, I'm sure that Alicia is low-key looking forward to Chloe not being there next year, because the amount of times Alicia has been P2 and Chloe has been the one to take P1 is like ridiculous. Honestly, like if you look back, she must be happy, like, oh, now it's gonna be my turn to get P1 next season.
That's so funny. She's like, now I can shine. Like, Chloe, you
Exactly.
had your time, it's my time now.
Yes, it's like every time Alicia gets close to pole, it's like, no, I'll
Sorry.
take it. Yeah. And also, like, that was just a side note I wanted to mention. Obviously behind Alba, crucially, we did have Doriane Pin right in front of Maya Weug. So kind of an odd one that the first time I believe this season that Alba outqualifies Maya is in this crucial
Yeah.
final weekend where Maya really needs all the points she can get, but I'm not complaining from Alba's side. And also Doriane, as we talked about the slipstream being so important, it was very strange seeing her qualifying session, because for most of the session she was driving on her own without the slipstream, and you just saw how quick she was throughout sector 1, sector 2, but then it was so visible that her lap time got hurt by not having that slipstream, so that the team literally had to be like, we need that slipstream, Doriane, like, go out and find it, please. And obviously she did end up trying to get one from her teammate, Tina Hausmann, but I definitely think it didn't work out the way they also wanted, because again, Tina wasn't as fast as Doriane, so it was almost like she, even though she got her the slipstream, she also kind of held her back because she wasn't as fast as Doriane in some of the corners. But yeah, definitely didn't play out perfectly.
Yeah. Very interesting to see that both Maya and Doriane qualified really close to each other, which going into the races was like, okay, they are so close to each other. This is going to be crazy. Like, one just needs to
Yeah.
overtake the other, and then it's fine, and they just need to outscore. So yeah. One thing to note: after qualifying happened, we got a penalty for Aurelia Nobles. No final race. She
Yeah.
received a 3-place grid drop for both of the races, for impeding Ella Lloyd during qualifying. So that dropped her from 13th to 16th, but we will talk about her in a second. It wasn't all bad this weekend.
No, finally she actually got to be on the, not even the lucky side of the logometer, really, just have like a good weekend, which she has been lacking. But obviously it didn't look that way in qualifying, but we'll definitely get to it in the race. Also, before we move on to the race, I just realized we haven't even mentioned who the wildcard driver or the driver for Ava Agnostias is. So maybe we should mention them now before going into races, because they also play an important part in race one.
They do. So we had Rachel Robertson jumping in for Ava Anastias in the Tag Heuer car.
Yes, so in the wildcard car, also operated by Hightech, we had Peyton Westcott. Also, like, she was sponsored by some Las Vegas thing, I don't remember right now. Very nice delivery car, though.
Yeah, really pretty. Like, if we go back to our rating, ooh, maybe we could do like a rating wildcard liveries for F1 Academy,
Yes.
perhaps, because that was a beautiful livery. Like, I love the wildcard liveries usually. I don't know if she was sponsored by Visit Las Vegas or just like Las Vegas, but it kind of felt like the tourism side of it. But it was shiny and sparkly and dark, and it felt very night race.
Yes, it was beautiful. Also, obviously going into the weekend for those two, it's always kind of a struggle. Being the first time in a competitive session in F1 Academy, obviously they've done the rookie test, but they didn't qualify the best. But maybe that was a good thing going into that insane race that we're getting into for race one.
Exactly. If we jump to race one now, when I switched my stream on at 2 a.m. in the morning and
Yeah.
saw rain, I knew we were going
Mm.
to be in for one hell of a race, like one insane race. It was really difficult to tell during F1 Academy that it was raining though. Like the track didn't look wet and the cameras couldn't pick it up, but you could just tell the drivers had literally zero grip. And we started the formation lap behind the safety car. So when the safety car comes out, it's dangerous to go
Yeah.
too fast. Like they have to control the speed.
Yeah, and they deemed it obviously also to be like too unsafe or too risky to do a standing start. So that's why we had that rolling start after, I believe it was 2 laps behind the safety car for like a extra long formation lap. So the drivers got a chance to like get a feel for where the track was wet. Because I feel like what messed with a lot of people's heads, like as a viewer, was definitely you think, oh, what is all this chaos going on? But it's literally because the track was so much wetter than we could visibly tell because of the lights, and also like the F4 cars obviously don't pick up as much of the water as we see in F1. So it was very difficult to tell. Honestly, most of it, besides the runoff areas, looked dry on camera, but clearly it was not. We had action even before the green flag, before the rolling start actually happened, which was such a big moment for the title, unfortunately, but all like
Yes.
Maya's chances of the title.
Um, I just want to mention before that, before we even got
Yeah.
going, before we even left the grid,
Oh yeah,
Emma
that's
Felbermeyer
true.
had
Mm.
an issue with her clutch and she couldn't get going, and she landed up starting from pit lane instead of from the front row with the reverse grid. With the top 8, which was really unfortunate for her. This weekend, she definitely falls on the unlucky side of our Lacometer, because we'll mention it again in the next race. But this issue does not go away very easily. But I will let you continue with what happened when we were like almost finishing our formation lap, kind of, or so
Yeah.
some people thought.
Yes, because now the title of this session, race one, was definitely just heartbreak. All in capital letters, heartbreak. Obviously, Emma stalling off the line. And then we get to, obviously, it's so annoying as well that now that we get to the almost start of the race, some people are very heavily criticizing what happened on Maya. Because obviously, what happened was that she thought that Nina, who was the race leader, went for it. Like, she had started going fast to get to the line, basically. She hadn't. She just sped up a little and then backed off again, which obviously you can do to a certain degree. But
Yeah.
like, so she expected, obviously now being in P3 in the reverse grid, she was expecting, okay, now we're going. So like, obviously she wanted to get the best start she possibly could, and then got taken by surprise when Tina in front of her was still going slow and ran straight into the back of her, which is something we have seen in so many different series across motorsport. And also, like, obviously across all genders has done this. So it's like, it's not a woman thing, which some
Thank
people
you.
make it out to be. Yeah.
Yeah, this is just what happens in the lower feeder series. And I feel like there's quite a lot of viewers who just watch F1 Academy because of the backing with all the F1 teams. So I feel like
Huh.
we get some people who watch F1 and F1 Academy and they don't realize this is an F4 series and what happens in the
Yeah.
rest of F4 series and F3 and even in F2. We get driver mistakes that happen like this. They're not perfect. They're young drivers. They're still learning, and it's a driver error. It had nothing to do with the gender.
No, and like even in F1, we've seen this happen before where a driver thinks, oh, now we're going, and no, you're not, and then it's chaos. So obviously, mistakes like this even happens in F1. So definitely, it's not something you want to see, but it is just an unfortunate mistake. And it's obviously maybe just the nerves kind of got to Maya this weekend, which is like a feeling I kind of have because obviously qualifying didn't go too well, and like we saw on social media clips posted by F1 Academy that she was super frustrated with that P5, which is obviously not the end of the world, but like still, she was definitely not happy about that. And then going into the race, knowing that this is the reverse grid race, obviously there's not as many points in the line, but like still, this is the race. I'm starting ahead of Doriane Pin. I need to like capitalize. It was definitely on her mind that like I need to get the perfect start and get off like fast as I can. So like when she thought the race was going on, obviously she went for it. And unfortunately that ended in tears when we were all shook seeing literally Maya being taken out and like classified as DNS. So like didn't even start the race because she crashed out, unfortunately.
Yeah, which then caused a safety car, which then mean we couldn't start the race for a little bit. We also did have a very strange moment. I don't know what was going on in Las Vegas with the marshals and that kind of team, because we actually had like, I know we have this in Formula E, where we have the tractors that pick up the cars, like come out into the circuit, but we don't usually have that as much in like F1, F2. But it was like on the circuit and had to reverse, and the safety car had to slow them down quite a lot when they were trying to retrieve Maya's car because it was literally right in front of them, which was very interesting, but obviously heartbreak for Maya. She obviously had to sit out and watch the race happen. Like the memes that came out of that were
Mhm.
funny but so devastating because it's the Ferrari driver
Yeah,
treatment. Like where you crash out
literally.
and you just have to sit there and watch the race happen.
Yes, and like it was super nerve-wracking watching the rest of the race because obviously it can seem super bad when Maya is well taking herself out of the race. Also, unfortunately for Tina, also taking her out. It can look really bad for the championship that now she's not gonna score any points. Like with the chaos we got, I was scared for my life almost because obviously like one mistake or someone else messing up close to Doriane, she could be taken out and like it would be back to square one and it would still be 9 points between them. That
Exactly.
didn't happen.
Yeah.
Doriane did go on to win the race, but we'll get to that.
It was crazy. Like literally before the race started, Doriane was now up to P2 and Elba was up to P3,
Mm.
which was insane. Like they literally hadn't even started the race. They had 3 laps behind the safety car and then they got going.
Yeah, obviously I also have to mention the funny memes and tweets that got out of that as well, because obviously, as you say, Ferrari, Maya thing was mentioned, but also the Doriane Mercedes one was also done with like starting P5, doing nothing, straight to P2, which is like a George Russell staple that people always make fun of. That was
Ugh,
Doriane, and I'm not mad about it.
no, she benefited. It's fine.
Exactly. And like I was in Dream World at this point, obviously having Dorian P2, Alba Larsen P3. Like I was envisioning that first Alba podium like it had already happened. But of course, we still had lots of chaos to come, because when we finally actually got the race going, because obviously we didn't get the race going when Maya crashed, that just led to the safety car coming straight back out again. But then when we had the real first proper rolling start when the safety car was done, um, honestly, the whole top three did a great job, but the person who obviously I said it was important for like to get those extra laps before they even called the first rolling start. They gave them like an extra formation lap. That was so the drivers could like feel out the circuit, see where the grip was. The person who did that best was honestly Alba Larsen, because like she was flying going into that first proper lap. Like she had really noticed where the grip was, what she was capable of doing, because she just almost like flew on the outside past Doriane. Like such a great overtake.
Honestly, she had seemed like she had so much more grip than everyone else out there.
Yeah.
And it was insane to see her. She obviously, as you mentioned, just knew where to place her car, which was really impressive. I'm sure we will carry on to talk about how, it didn't carry on as she wanted, but it started really
No.
positively for her.
Yes, because she didn't just settle for P2. Obviously, she
Yeah.
also, like, completely on merit, got past race leader Nina Gademan, which was also impressive, because I got so nervous when I saw the like pre-race interview where like from the day before, and Nina was like, I'm gonna keep the lead, like people will have to push me off track to like get past me. Like I got stressed when I heard that. Luckily that wasn't needed. Alba did have more pace or more grip than Nina, took the lead, literally just like flying away from Nina and Doi, and like everything looks so good, and then commentator's curse strikes. Like literally, as the commentator is like, oh, like Alba is just flying away. You almost can't see her. Like whatever he was saying, oh my God. Alba in the wall. Literally cut to Alba being sideways.
And
And heartbreak again.
yeah, I just messaged you. I was like, she just needs to keep it clean
Yeah,
now. She just needs to go. And then she
yeah,
literally crashed and had a moment. She clipped the wall, and then she spun. And it didn't look like she like
yeah.
really hit the wall, but unfortunately that was
Mm,
her race over, um, which was
yeah.
really upsetting. But you know what? She's a rookie. She showed she had so much
Mm.
pace. Next year, she's gonna come back. She's gonna have sorted all of these tiny little issues out, and she's gonna be fighting for the championship. You've heard it here right now.
Yes, honestly, she may not be the favorite going into next season, but like you make sure to note down her name, because obviously she's the youngest driver, like a day or two older than Joanne Conte, driving in the same team, definitely outperforming Joanne on her good days, being on level with Maya, which is obviously super impressive. Her being literally like competing for the title, almost winning it. So she was doing so great, and like it's such a tiny error where she should just like a tap with the wall at the beginning. I just thought that she had like gotten too eager, wanting to drive too fast, and just like lost the car. But like obviously it
Yeah.
was just such a tiny mistake that unfortunately broke her car and sent her into a spin the next corner, and that was her race done. Obviously Nina back to being race leader again for a little while anyway.
Yes, which then brought out a safety car, but I think at pretty much the same time, Ella Lloyd braked late and she just didn't have the grip. And she didn't make the corner and just went straight into the barriers. So then the safety car was out for
Mm.
both of them, which was really, really chaotic. Like there was so much happening, and this track is just not easy in the first place. It doesn't have that much temperature in it because we're in the middle of the night, pretty much in Las Vegas as well. So there's no heat in it. So it's hard to bring the tires up to temperature. And then you add the rain into it. It just made for such a chaotic race.
Yes, it was honestly insane. Also, like Ella's crash just felt like a slow motion crash, because you could see she really tried to turn the car, and you could just see she's not gonna get a turn. Like it was just not gonna happen for her. I was like, it did make me feel slightly better seeing like it's not just Alba had crashed out. It was actually a lot of the like drivers you see as the most talented ones. So it was definitely tricky. I also saw someone online mentioning that F4 cars should get nowhere near Las Vegas circuit. I'm like, it was literally such treacherous conditions. Like it's nothing
Yeah,
with the circuit or them being F4 drivers. It was such a difficult race, which we also like saw in race 2. It was normal conditions. Like was way more normal and like good racing we got there without all the chaos. So like was definitely not helping the rain.
exactly. And the next thing to happen, I think it was when we went green again, we had Rafaela and Joanne, which they didn't really show what happened, but they kind of had like a light crash into each other,
Mm.
had a moment. Um, so there was a lot going on in the front of the pack and towards the back.
Yeah, it was very much not Joanne's weekend. Like I felt so bad for her because she had a couple of incidents, like one in each race. We'll get to the other one in race 2. But obviously, at least she was able to carry on in race 1 after that issue. However, she did get a time penalty, which dropped her out towards the end of top 10-ish, outside of top 10. So not the way she wanted to end the race. Like such heartbreak for MP in general. Like they were going in fighting for the team's championship, like ended up just like losing it right there in that race.
Yeah, it was really not that great a weekend for MP, but we did have everything was green again with 4 laps to go, and it was a really good restart for Nina. Um, then the word for the bag, we had Chloe Chambers and Alicia fighting each other, which was stressful. We never really like to see teammates fighting against each other because it can end in heartbreak. I will just say that before we get to it. And then we had
Yeah.
Doriane overtaking Nina for the lead. So there was a lot going on at this restart in this next
Yeah.
lap.
Yeah, it was definitely teammate against teammate. Obviously, Nina and Doriane being perma drivers battling out for the lead. Very crucial for Doriane's championship. She did take the lead before all the mess happened behind her when it got a bit too close between Chloe and Alicia, unfortunately. And it's so unfortunate because it's not the first time we're seeing
Oh,
this. They have had a couple of incidents throughout the season. It's like it's always Chloe and Alicia again. Like that's the whole like. Even though a lot of the time it has been on Alicia in the season, like she's just ready for Chloe to not be there anymore. Like not saying it's Chloe's fault at all, but
yeah.
there's something about when Alicia and Chloe are close to each other is that the universe doesn't like it. Like it
No.
wants to get rid of one of them.
It's like there's 2 Red Bull cars here. I can't deal with this. You need to be one or you just both need to be out. So let's hope that doesn't happen next year with
Exactly.
McLaren because then it'll be like a curse of the same like
Oh,
manufacturer car. But yeah, unfortunately, Chloe crashed into the barriers, at least for her in her championship fight for P3. Ella was already out, who she was fighting for that place.
yeah.
So at least with both of them out, it was kind of like a clean slate and it didn't really matter too much. Like obviously they both wanted to score points, but they were okay in that aspect. One other thing to
Yeah.
mention is that with Chloe in the wall, it kind of caught Leah a little bit out and she like almost crashed into Chloe. And luckily she could like swerve at the last minute, but that was unfortunate for Leah's race because it did land up dropping her back because she had to slow down.
Okay, so as anyone watching on video format can see, my camera doesn't want to cooperate today, or like the software we're using to record with doesn't want to work with us today. So
Yeah.
now we're on worse quality, but I'm sure it'll be fine. And we excuse my very, like, I don't even know what this looks like. It looks very bad, but we'll live with it. It's what we're saying is the important part, and hopefully that is clear. So we'll
Yes.
continue on.
So, the safety car was called out for this crash, right? And at this point of the race, the rain also started to increase, which was like, I was like, how can we have more rain at this point? And this was the second last lap, and we're still behind the safety car. Um, the safety car landed up ending on the last lap, but we couldn't get racing again because obviously it was the last lap and the safety car it ended like halfway through. So at least they could go on the
Mm.
checkered flag by themselves, but they were still under safety car conditions, which was really good for Doriane and her championship battle.
Not gonna lie, when we got that final safety car and we had like Dorian's radio that the rain was increasing and you could like visibly see that the rain like it was starting to pour down and I was like, race control, do not let them have like one final lap shootout. Like let just Dorian keep the win.
Yeah.
Let's just finish behind safety car. And luckily that was what happened. And we had the race result that um Doriane won the race with Nina, her teammate, right behind her, obviously securing team's championship, which is super important. We love that from her here on the podcast. And then we had momentarily Alicia Pomolsky in P3 until
Yes.
she unfortunately was disqualified from the race.
Yeah. We had Prema winning the team championship. Incredible. We had Hello Kitty waving the flag, which yes, we love to see. I also would like to mention that I hate the F1 Academy podium in Las Vegas. It's on the floor. And I feel like that it doesn't have the same
Yes.
vibes. They pretty much get out their car and go to the podium immediately. Like, there's no like cool down room, and
Mm.
then they get to go out and walk on the podium, and like barely anyone can see because it's literally in the pit lane. So I just felt like I had to mention that I hated the podium. We did have Alicia on it briefly. As you mentioned, she did get disqualified after post-race checks on the car. And Aurelia just having a solid weekend, getting promoted to P3 for her first F1 Academy podium on her last race, which was just incredible for her.
Yeah, honestly, to first mention the podium situation, it's also like such an odd one because it's definitely just like, oh shit, we actually need to have a podium for F1 Academy because obviously they don't have the time to actually bring them all the way over to the F1 podium because for whatever reason, the people who organize the F1 race in Las Vegas decide like, it's gonna be amazing having the drivers drive to another part of the circuit to have this podium at this specific location. So it's definitely just like we need to do something here, which is not the best. Hopefully, if they do race in Las Vegas again next year, they can figure out something better because it was very anticlimactic. It just literally being in the pit lane. But yeah, definitely happy for Aurelia, even though it must be such an anticlimactic moment. Literally, it being your final race weekend in F1 Academy, getting your first and final podium, and then only getting the trophy after the fact.
Yeah, she couldn't celebrate. I mean, the podium wasn't the most glamorous, so at least she didn't miss out on that. But it must have been disappointing for her.
No.
But at least she did score a podium in F1 Academy. One other thing to mention, another driver who's just been on the bad side of our luckometer for a while is Nicole Hoverda. She did land up receiving a 30-second time penalty for remaining in the pit lane after the formation lap due to a mechanical issue. So yeah, that was unfortunate for her.
Yes. And then the only other thing I think we have to mention is obviously we have talked about all the chaos in this race, but definitely just maybe starting further back and just keeping it clean. We saw obviously Aurelia get all the way up to podium, but we also saw Rachel Robinson getting all the way up to P4, which was such an incredible result. Also Peyton in P6. So they had a really quiet, clean, good first race in F1 Academy.
Yeah, incredible for them to be scoring these good positions, and I would not be surprised if we do land up seeing them on the grid next year. So keep an eye out for some more announcements to see perhaps if the wildcard driver and driver who stepped in land up getting full-time seats next year.
Yes, definitely something we tend to see, so we'll keep an eye out for that. Also, like some other drivers were in Las Vegas who didn't get announced, who also have been wildcard drivers in F1 Academy. So maybe there are still talks going around. I could definitely see that being a potential reason to pop up in Las Vegas. But again, we'll have to wait and see. And I'm sure before next season starts, we'll make like a full like getting ready for F1 Academy. Also, we will make like a whole looking back on the season that has gone by. Then we can also like highlight not the rookie drivers, but also them like the wildcard drivers that we may see come into next season. But I guess we can quickly move on to race 2, where it was all decided.
Yes, one thing I want to note is the commentators mentioned that Maya has gained 42 positions in all of the races that she has done
Yeah.
this year, and she was the top overtaker of the season. Which just kind of shows that she hasn't she's qualified quite well, but also she's been really good in the reverse grid races and just landed up making her way through the field and still being on that podium. So I think that was a really cool stat to find out.
Yes, it definitely also shows that F1 Academy made the right decision by introducing the reverse grid again. Because seeing a driver like Maya, she had pole position multiple times throughout the season. Like seeing her racecraft has been incredible, as you mentioned. So definitely something I hope they continue with next season.
Agreed. And going into this race, Maya had to win it to be within any shot of winning the championship. So there was a lot of pressure on her. And as we were lining up on the grid about to do our formation map, again, Emma Falbenmeyer had an issue with her clutch and she couldn't get going, which was just so unfortunate for her, completely on the bad side of our luckometer. Just really a weekend for her to brush off and hopefully come back next year stronger.
Yes, that is definitely not the way you would want to end off your rookie season, but obviously she has showed pace in previous races, and it's just unfortunate for her that the opportunity of showing what she could do in Las Vegas was pretty much taken away from her, even though she could rejoin the race from the pit lane. But yeah, definitely not what you want to see. But other than her having that issue again, at least it was on the formation lap, because that is so scary whenever it happens, like at the race starts. So that is the only positive to take away from that. So because it was on the formation lap, and we finally got our first standing start of the weekend, it was a clean start, which I was very happy about because I was stressed, obviously. Now the gap between Doriane and Maya had grown to 20 points, so definitely very comfortable for Doriane. But still, it must still be in the back of everyone's mind that if Doriane something happened to her and she would DNF, if only we could see Maya like charge up to P1 again, like we have seen multiple times this season. Like she could have still very much win it, so it definitely wasn't over yet at this point.
Absolutely not. And if we go towards right at the front of the grid, Chloe Chambers had an incredible start, which
Yeah.
was really good for her and her whole weekend. If we go a little bit further back, we did have an issue with Joanne Chiconte and Peyton Westcott, and they both landed up spinning and hitting each other, and they did land up causing a safety car. So this race may have been dry, but it was not without its chaos.
No, it was also like a super odd incident to see, like from the perspectives we got. Obviously, we didn't really catch the beginning of the
Yeah.
incident because when we saw it, it very much just seemed like synchronized spinning. Obviously, that wasn't what happened, but it was what it seemed like, but very much not what Joanne would have wanted to finish off her rookie season either. And also, like, Peyton, obviously, even though she has performed well as a wildcard driver, you never know if she'll get the chance to get a full-time seat next year. We can definitely hope for that. But to end off her like Las Vegas weekend this way was definitely also not what she hoped for. So like again, more heartbreak in that part of the field for sure. But looking further up ahead. I will still say, when I was watching Doriane trying to pass Alba for P3, I was like, don't risk it, Doriane, please don't risk it. I know a racing driver don't think like that, but I was so scared because obviously Alba is a clean racer, but still she's a hard racer, so there is some risk in passing her for sure.
Absolutely. She's not just gonna let Doriane pass. She's gonna put up a fight. So it was
No.
really, really stressful. But Doriane did make the move stick. And then Maya
Yeah.
did pretty much immediately after as well. So it was really exciting to see both these drivers who were fighting for the championship sticking close to each other, and continuing to make moves towards the front of the grid. As we know, Maya had to win the race. So she needed to pass Alba to keep with Doriane and then
Yeah.
try and pass her.
Yeah, obviously we already mentioned that Alba will be one to watch next year. I definitely also think she can take a lot of pride in like the amount of times that she has been battling with Doriane on track, who literally goes on to win the championship, has been insane. And like she has never made it easy for Doriane one time to get past her. She's always put up a fight, else we'll get to that she'll get to repass Doriane later in the race. But as you mentioned, the second that Doriane managed to get past Alba, it almost seemed, obviously we will never get confirmation on this, but it almost seemed that definitely there had been some talks within NP that if Doriane, like obviously Alba is allowed to fight for her own podium position, but like if Doriane gets past you, let Maya through as well so she has a chance. Like don't waste time trying to kill Maya's dream of the
Yeah.
championship because it was very odd the way we saw very easily letting Maya pass. Obviously, she is a teammate, and then dropping back a couple of seconds, kind of being in her own world for a little while, not being like challenged from behind either, just like sticking back. And then, like, the second Maya finally makes a move on Doriane, which is obviously great for her. She's trying to get more points than Doriane, trying to get the win. We saw Alba pick up the pace instantly and get up to the back of Doriane, and also making a pass on Doriane and getting back up to P4. So I definitely think there was some team games going on with that.
I agree. One thing to note here is while all of this was happening, Nicole Haberder, unfortunately, did get a 5-second time penalty for moving before the signal, like a jump start, which was really unfortunate for her. Again,
Um,
not a good weekend. But going back to what we were mentioning, I agree with you. I agree that it seemed like Alba was a bit more lenient with Maya, and teams are allowed to play that. And if their drivers agree to
yeah,
do it, then that's fine. You have your teammates for a reason. It doesn't happen as often in the lower feeder series, but I mean, this was a championship that was being fought for. So it made sense. And as you mentioned, then Alba was coming back on Dorian. So yeah. Then Maya was fighting with Alicia. Also, she was really
yeah.
going for it and getting up there. And they were swapping positions, and I was like, let's just keep this clean, please.
Like, if we had another Maya crash, I would crash out myself, even though I hope for that Doriane win, or like championship win. It was still like, it was good racing for Maya, like we're used to seeing. Unfortunately, in the end, she didn't manage to get past Alicia, which also I don't think would have made a big difference because obviously she would still have had to pass Chloe, who were definitely dominantly leading the race.
She was like 4 seconds up the road by the end. Like, Chloe had
Yeah,
locked in and she was gone. She was like, this is my race to win. I'm going to
yeah,
end the season on a high and win my home race, which is what landed up happening. We had Chloe P1, Chloe Chambers, Alicia
yeah,
P2, and Maya P3, which is honestly the saddest person I've ever seen on a podium before, because obviously she's just
yeah.
lost the championship. And yes, it was great for her to be on the podium, but it was still very fresh, this losing. And a lot of people came and comforted her, which was great because she's put up such a fight this season and she showed so much pace. And I really hope that we continue to see her racing. Um, but I've heard some rumors in the feeder series world, they're not quite sure on what her if her backing will be kept by Ferrari, if she'll still be in their junior academy or not, and where she will go. Because a lot of the time with these F1 Academy girls, they're trying to win this to get the funding for the next seat for where they want to go further. And sometimes if they don't get that, then they can struggle to progress. So it'll be very interesting to keep track because we have a couple of second year drivers that are ending, and now we can see where they're going. Like there's rumors, I think Chloe Chambers wants to stay racing in America. So it'll be interesting to see if she goes to Indy and tries that. So yeah, just something to keep an eye on.
Definitely, because alongside keeping you all updated on what the current rookies are doing, like continuing for second year in F1 Academy and also new rookies coming into F1 Academy, we'll definitely also keep you updated on what all these drivers who are second year drivers now who can continue in F1 Academy, where they'll be going, because it's definitely super interesting and we haven't heard too much about it at all. I also like obviously with Doriane now winning the championship, she's guaranteed the funding for a seat somewhere next season. But even though last year it was very early on announced that Abby Pulling, the then champion, would get a backed seat by F1 Academy at Rodin in GB3. Obviously, that was very specific because they knew that she would win the championship. Like, people knew for a while it was such a dominant season by her. Obviously, now with Dorian and Maya, it was way closer, so it makes sense that no deal has been done already. So it will be interesting to see if they'll go back to Freka or if they find another series. Definitely something to keep an eye out on.
Absolutely. And now we talked about the Drivers' Championship being won by Dorian, but during the last race, Campos landed up securing P2 in the team's championship, with Alicia and Chloe scoring majority of their points during that race. Dropping MP down to P3, losing by 1 point, which is just insane.
Yes, that is insane in itself. Like, literally, the team going into the weekend, we said, like, oh, they can still win the team's championship. And then they literally lose the team's championship in race 1. And then they lose their P2 in race 2 and ends up P3, which it's so unfortunate. But obviously, also MP is kind of an odd one because we also like question why Maya even joined them in the beginning of the season. Obviously, they've shown
Yeah.
they have great pace at the team, but like looking back at previous seasons in F1 Academy, they haven't really been the top team. So in a sense, I'm not surprised seeing Campos in the end stealing P2 away from them, because they have been so consistent most of the time, at least with Alicia and Chloe, like scoring big points a lot of the time.
Yeah, and Rafaela has been scoring points consistently.
Yeah.
She's just been a little bit further down, like towards the lower end of the grid. Again, interesting because we know she's coming back next year to see what she can do. But yes, Campos had a really strong season this year.
They definitely did, and they definitely did deserve that P2. It will be so interesting going into next season. Already getting excited about next season, even though it's so far away.
I know.
Because now, obviously, Prima has won, like, all 3 years that F1 Academy has existed. Like, can anyone beat Prima? And I low-key want the answer to be no, actually.
Yeah,
I just want to keep the Prima dominance.
please, we don't get Premier Dominance anywhere else now. Can we keep
No,
F1
not
Academy? Like,
anymore.
I need this.
Yes. Also, it will be super interesting to see. Now, we've already mentioned like where drivers will move, but obviously with Prema, we have both Dorian and Tina leaving. Probably Nina staying, but then again, that's never a given. For example, Maya drove for Prema and then switched to MP, so we'll have to wait and see. Still delusional about that Alba to Prema agenda I have going on. We'll have to wait for anything to be announced, but like just saying it, Ferrari, please get her that Prema Italian team seat.
She deserves it. Thank you very much.
Yeah, even though MP is also great, no shade to MP. We'll have to wait and see, and we'll definitely keep you up to date with everyone that's going on.
Yeah, and I can't believe that this season is over. Like, I'm literally mourning it right now.
No.
Like, I'm so sad, but it's it's okay because we jump straight into F2. this coming weekend with their championship being wrapped up with their final doubleheader. So I will have to focus on F2 now to mend my broken heart that we have no more F1 Academy for months.
Yes, it's gonna be painful, but hopefully we can look forward to a lot of announcements in the coming months. We'll have to wait for that. And now that we had one stressful championship decided, we obviously can't wait to be completely stressed out in F2 in Qatar and Abu Dhabi. So like, stay tuned for those race reviews, because I'm sure it's gonna be pure insanity after such a long break and a championship very much still on the line.
Yeah, I'm really stressed for that one as well. But I'm really excited to see who does end up winning. But yeah, stay tuned. Make sure to follow us on all of our socials, especially with all of these announcements that are coming. We post them there immediately. So if you really want to be kept up to date, follow us on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, and you will get a lot of different content over there as well. So yeah, make sure you follow us there. And also, if you're watching here on YouTube, on Spotify, and you're not following us yet, what are you doing? You need to be following us, notifications on, because we have episodes coming out weekly that you don't want to miss. So yeah, make sure that you are tuning in every single week.
Yeah. Thank you so much, everyone watching, and we'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye.